welcome to a brand new episode of Coming Distractions brought to you by the Nerdpocalypse podcast. I'm your host, Jay. I'm here with my co-host, Terrence.
What up?
All right, guys, we're back. This episode, we're going to talk about Tau. This is the newly released sci-fi movie on Netflix, spelled T-A-U for those who are wondering. This is starring Maika Monroe, Ed Skrein, and Gary Oldman. So I had the luxury, the pleasure, I guess.
I don't even know what this is.
Yeah, that's probably for the best.
Okay.
I had the unfortunate pleasure to watch this movie under my own.
You wanted to.
Yeah, I keep giving Netflix sci-fi movies a chance. I want to believe.
So is this the genre where they're just kind of like
they can't get it right? They just
what
can't.
about
get it right.
Lost in Space?
Lost in Space is okay. Yeah, it's not bad.
That's a series.
Yeah, it's a series.
Like they're movies though.
No.
What was the other one? Titan.
As a swing and a miss. So Tau is the general story. This is a very standard sci-fi story, right? Which is this woman. She's like a thief. She dresses up like a lady of the evening, but she just basically just robs rich people, right? So she goes. She's like fencing stuff in the beginning that she stole from these guys at clubs, and when she goes back to her house, somebody sneaks up on her, grabs her, and she wakes up in this cage where she's been taken prisoner, and she wakes up and she's got this implant in the back of her neck, kind of like Matrix style, right? Yeah. And you come to find out that she's been captured by Ed Skrein's character, Alex, who is a CEO of like a big major corporation, and he lives in this like really museum style house, right? And Alex has built this AI called Tau, voiced by Gary Oldman, and he's using the brain function of Julia, played by Maika Monroe. He's using that brain function as data to use for Tau to teach Tau, right? So Tau becomes more and more human. Tau is this project that he's working on not in complete secret, but no one else has seen Tau. Like his coworkers are like, oh, when are you going to show it to us and all sorts of stuff, right? So that's like a plot point that's happening in the background. Meanwhile, Julie is held captive in this house. So this movie is bad. It's fairly bad. Okay. And the reason why it's bad is the concept is great, the execution is terrible. What ends up happening is what you would think would happen is the robot or the AI would be constantly learning and getting smarter and realizing what's happening, right? And then maybe help the hero, right? Help Julia. But what ends up really kind of happening is Julia, this regular ass thief, just kind of convinces the genius robot to like be on her side and let her go. Like that's the premise. And turn his back on his creator. A couple of things. Ed Skrein is literally forgettable in this role because I thought he was a different actor until I just looked it up. I thought he was someone else. He is completely forgettable in this role as Alex. He's not particularly menacing. He's supposed to be kind of a socially awkward, like mega genius. He's supposed to be kind of a slightly aloof, I guess, but it doesn't come off well. It just comes off as just not interesting. The woman who plays Julia is fine. I just don't like that she's just this regular person who convinced a genius robot to do what she wanted. That doesn't make any sense to me. So that plot point, which is the crux of the story, is really silly. And then Gary Oldman as the AI, Tau. I don't like that Gary Oldman doesn't take his own emotion out of voicing AI. Like that's weird, right? Like AI is supposed to, like
it's supposed to be like cold,
right? Like this AI doesn't even know what outside is. It doesn't know anything outside of the house, but it's like, hey, what's going on, guys? Like, why are you talking like this? It's like super weird, right? So he doesn't take emotion out of his voice to do it. Like one of the best examples, I know everybody's mad at her right now, but one of the best examples of that is Scarlett Johansson in Her. Like the way she read that role was perfect. Like she just had no emotion, and then like as things slowly progressed, they gave her a little bit of emotion, which made sense of the story. He has a level of like Like, what the fuck are you talking about? Kind of attitude in the beginning. It's like, it doesn't make any sense, especially if the only person he's been around is Ed Skrein's character, who should have played the robot because he talks like one. Like, it doesn't make any sense. So I didn't like Gary Oldman's performance, and I'm a big Gary Oldman fan as far as his normal work. The other thing that is very noticeable in this movie is the CGI. So there's Tao, who is just like this triangle on a screen, right? And he like kind of fluctuates as he's talking. And then there's this robot that he kind of controls that will like murder you if you get out of, like, it's a murder bot basically, right? And then there's these like little drones that fly around. The CGI for the robot and the drones, as I told you offline, is just a hair better than the CGI of Ed 209 moving in the original RoboCop. Like, that's not an exaggeration. I'll show you a clip after we get done. It's unreal how bad it is. So it's done on I would argue, I don't know this, but it's got to be done on a shoestring budget. But it just doesn't look very good. The movie just looks very cheap. This is another swing and a miss for Netflix. I know they're like buying these movies. Like, this isn't a movie that they made, right? This is a movie that they purchased. I'm going to need whoever's in charge of the sci-fi purchasing. I'm going to need you to do better, because this is bad. This movie, I'm surprised they got Gary Oldman to do it, but I feel like
I was about to say, how did they get him to do it? But then again, what was the last big thing Gary Oldman was in? Batman. Yeah, I don't know. So yeah, I mean, but Gary Oldman he's a better actor than this movie. Like, he really is. But can you see what the budget is? I'm very interested to know. Doesn't have it. Nope. Yeah, it was a nickel. So like, and that's fine. But yeah, Tao's a kind of a waste of time, and it's sad because I like the concept, but just the execution was just poor. So if I had to give it a score, it's a 1.5 out of 5. Like, the house he lived in was pretty. Like, that's it. The concept was cool. So I give half a point for the house design and 1 point for the concept, but everything else was a mess. So it's a skip. It's an absolute skip. Even on Netflix, it's a skip. So Wow.
Yeah. So 1.5 out of 5, and we will see you guys next time.
Take it easy.
Bye. You're watching the Nerdpocalypse YouTube channel. Make sure you click that button to subscribe and check out our weekly podcast where we talk about movie, TV, news, tech, and weird stories from around the internet.